Hey guys, Bonehead here again, doing another Guild Wars 2 video for the Mesmer. I goofed on the last one and didn't scroll down, so as you can see you can't actually see all the things here yet, so this time I'll actually scroll down for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's get things started. As you can see here, I've gone human. I don't use any of the racial abilities for any of my builds, so it doesn't matter what race you are. Mesmer, obviously, and so this build here is focusing on being a Greatsword and Staff Mesmer. So I'll go and pick those out now, Greatsword and Staff. So you see, Greatsword is one of the best weapons for a Mesmer for putting out good damage, and then the Staff, when you swap to it, is the best one for a support role. So you can actually change back and forth and do both of these. So changing over to the Staff and throwing down things like here Chaos Storm and Chaos Armor on yourself and things, and then swapping back to the Greatsword to keep doing damage, gets a lot of conditions out on the enemies and lots of boons on you and things. So I'll go back to Greatsword for now and I'll step my way through. So you can see your abilities on the Greatsword. Spatial Surge, basically a beam that you fire at the enemy. The further away you are, the more damage it does. Mirror Blade, you throw a blade that bounces 3 times, and where it lands the first time it actually summons another clone that fires the Spatial Surge beams as well. Mind Stab, thrust your sword into the ground and you'll see a sword come up out of the ground where the enemy is, and it does damage and removes boons from the enemy, so good for getting rid of when they've got regen and things like that. Fourth ability here, Phantasmal Berserker. This guy's pretty good. You summon him and he'll actually stand at the edge and then come whirling through the enemy, crippling everyone and dealing damage as he swings through. And then Illusionary Wave, push back your foes. It's just good for using Special Surge. You want to be as far away as you can, and so when they get too close you can hit 5 and knock them back. Swap over to the Staff. You'll see here Winds of Chaos, so you bounce an orb of energy between foes and allies. Boons for the allies and burn, bleed or vulnerability on the enemy. Now this got nerfed pretty bad by the guys, and so it only has 1 bounce now, but you'll see later on we get a thing to give it an additional bounce, and so when you're spamming this and waiting for cooldowns on other things, you're still being quite effective with just those 2 bounces, so you're hitting 3 targets. Next one here, Phase Retreat, teleport away and summon a clone that casts Winds of Chaos. So you can see you're standing there casting Winds of Chaos and you hit this button, you'll teleport backwards and a clone will be there, so it's a good chance of the enemy targeting them instead. Next one, Phantasmal Warlock, summons an illusion that deals extra damage depending on how many conditions they have. And then you can see here Chaos Armor, you cast this on yourself, and when you get struck you'll get random boons for yourself, random conditions on the enemy. And then here Chaos Storm, the final thing for the Staff, in an area. Basically poisons, weakness and chilled and daze on the enemy, plus damage, 111 there, and then any allies in the area will gain swiftness or retaliation or aegis. So yeah, the combination of the Winds of Chaos, you'll see all the actual boons and conditions are actually different for all these different things here, so by using all 3 you can actually spread across the board and have basically all of the boons and things going across. So that's those ones there. I'll flick it back to Greatsword. Also for Aquatic, basically I just grab a Trident. Trident is the best underwater one for the build. You've got here Siren's Call, another bouncing ability that'll get extra bounces. It basically deals damage to enemies and then grants boons to allies it hits. Here Ineptitude, damage and blind, spinning revenge, retaliation to allies, and summons a clone that attacks as well, so that's all with your summoning and everything. So now the special abilities that you get as a Mesmer are these 4 here. So basically you'll summon up to 3 clones or phantasms, and then depending on if you hit F1 through to F4 is what will happen when you use them. So F1, all your illusions will run into the enemy that you're targeting and explode, damaging in an area. Cry of Frustration destroys all the clones and confuses enemies. It does damage as well. Diversion shatters them and dazes anyone around. And the last one, Distortion. Basically, for every clone that you destroy, you gain 1 second of evade. So it can be good if you're trying to run away and not get killed. You could throw that down. My build here basically focuses on Mind Wrack, just getting the maximum amount of damage out of that Shatter ability. And you'll see there's things later on in the trees there where we boost Mind Wrack and make it more effective. So yeah, what I'll do, I'll scroll down and I can go through all the actual traits. So starting with Domination, for the power and condition duration, we pick up here Illusion of Vulnerability, inflict 3 stacks of vulnerability when you interrupt a foe, and so it's just one of the things you get along the way. Next one here, easy one. Mind Wrack causes 20% more damage. So as you build up and get your 3 illusions up, you've got all your different illusions that you're bringing in. You actually get extra damage on top of all of it. Next one here, Dazzling. Dazing a foe also applies vulnerability. And then that'll let us pick up here Greatsword Training, which is the most important thing from Domination. That's the end of the Domination tree. Plus 50 power while wielding a Greatsword reduces the recharge of Greatsword skills. So you'll see all these abilities here now have a shorter cooldown, meaning you can throw them out a lot better, a lot faster, and works very well. Dueling I don't go into. Chaos is the next one we want to work on. So you want to pick up here Metaphysical Rejuvenation. Gain 10 seconds of regeneration when your health reaches 75%. That's really effective because being that you're trying to stay out of the fight as a Mesmer, when you are getting hit, if you do get hit down to that 75%, you'll automatically gain that regeneration to heal back up. Next thing here we want to pick up, there we go. Debilitating Dissipation. So clones apply a random condition to nearby foes when they're killed. So if they do get downed by the enemy, your clones, as a last thing they'll put a random condition on them, so vulnerability or poison or bleeding or something. And so it works very well with mind racking and things as well, because as they all get killed from the Shatter, they can apply their random conditions everywhere. Next one here, Illusionary Membrane. Gain protection for 3 seconds when you gain regeneration. So as you can see here, if you hit 75% health, you'll gain regeneration, and then as well you'll gain 3 seconds of protection, which reduces how much damage you take for the next 3 seconds. So those two work quite well together, and that'll let us get the level 20 thing for Chaos, which is Chaotic Dampening. So you can see here, plus 50 toughness while wielding a staff or trident, and reduce recharge of staff skills by 20%. So you can see that's the Chaos tree sorted out for us. Next thing we want to get down here, Inspiration. So we just want to pick up the first thing in here, which is Vengeful Images, grants retaliation to phantasms. So this, just having that 1 point in here gets us a little bit of extra healing and vitality for ourselves, and on top of that means that whenever your phantasms get hit by the enemy, they actually will reflect damage back at the enemies, and so if they get downed as well, they'll actually apply random conditions to them and things too, so it works out quite well together. Next thing we want to pick up down here is under the illusions. First thing, illusion is celerity. Illusion summoning skills recharge 20% faster. So, and there you can see all of the things like here, a mirror blade and phantasmal berserker. they're even faster. So they actually, you can summon all your phantasms quicker and get off a Mind Wrack to get out some serious damage. Next thing we want to pick up in here, precise rack, 10% higher crit chance with Mind Wrack. So as well as getting the boosted damage, now you've got a higher chance of them actually critical striking when it hits. Next thing here, illusionary retribution, all shatter skills inflict confusion. So now you can see here, you've actually got your cry of frustration to confuse the enemies. Now your Mind Wrack, when you use it, will actually cause confusion to whatever it doesn't kill. Which makes us move on to the next one here, which is bouncing attacks, illusionary elasticity. Bouncing attacks have one additional bounce. And then the last points here for the build. Shattering illusions grants you 3 stacks of might. So you can see here, now what we're working towards with all of our Greatsword increases and Mind Wrack increases and things, and then having phantasms when they get killed do different things. Now, as you shatter with the Mind Wrack, you basically build up your things as fast as you can, hit a Mind Wrack to blow them all up, and it'll also give you might for your next attacks for 10 seconds. Add confusion to whoever's left. And as you can see, they're picking up that extra bounce for all of our bounce abilities, which works well with the Greatsword, Staff, and Trident. So yeah, very good for that. So now, next things to do is to come back up here and work through the rest of our actual chosen abilities. So the first thing I pick up here is basically just Ether Feast for the heal. It's probably the most powerful heal out of them. And having with more clones, you actually get more heal on, so that works out quite well. Now the next thing I like to get here is Phantasmal Disenchanter. So you can see here, summons an illusion that removes boons from foes and cures conditions on allies. So yeah, teaming that up with the Mind Stab, which actually removes boons from the enemies as well. When you summon this Phantasmal Disenchanter, as you get conditions put on you, he'll cure them, and then it works especially well when you swap across to the Staff, where you're adding boons on yourself and your friends and putting conditions on. So you're putting things on, and then your Phantasmal Disenchanter, he'll be taking them off. So one thing to note with that, if you're standing too far away from him, he won't be able to do anything taking this stuff off you. He'll just work on taking boons off the enemies. So if you want to get the conditions taken off you, you need to stand close enough to him. Next one in here, Signet of Inspiration. This one here, random boon every 10 seconds onto you. So as you can see, all these different boons that you can get: regeneration, aegis, retaliation, protection, everything. So every 10 seconds that will be going on to you. And then as well, when you activate it, it copies all the boons on you to all your allies. So it's very good to, especially when you swap to the Staff side of things, you can actually be throw down Chaos, Storm, Armor, and throwing out Winds of Chaos, and then hit on Signet of Inspiration, and all the boons that you'll have built up on yourself can be then copied across to all of your teammates. So it's very, very effective for that. And then the last thing here on the utilities is Null Field. That's the most important one. Create a field of energy that rips all of the conditions on allies off, and all the boons off enemies. So and it lasts for 7 seconds. So especially when you come up against someone who stacks bleeds and things, and you find that's when you're getting the most damage against you. And then what you can do is throw down a null field and stand in it, and then so you'll immediately lose all those stacked up bleeds, and then he'll keep them away for 7 seconds. They can't actually put any more onto you. So very effective. And then the last thing here, mass invisibility, I find is the best utility out of the elites. Time warp and the Morph, yeah. And like I said, I don't use any of the racial stuff for that, so mass invisibility is definitely the best one in this case. 5 seconds of stealth to you and your allies around, so a very big radius on that too. So it just gives you and the team a bit of breathing room to get on some heals and things like that, or when you're in a tough fight. So yeah, that's the build. Hopefully you guys try it out, tell me what you think. And yeah, everything that you can see in the traits will all sort of build towards maximizing what you can do with the Greatsword and staff. And yeah, it's my favorite build for the Mesmer at the moment. So let me know what you think. Bonehead out.